back to back outright regular season Big 12 champs. The women's basketball team does it again over rival Baylor. Men's basketball has won 6 of 7. They got a couple commitments over the weekend as well. And TCU baseball breaks out the brooms in their get right weekend against New Haven. Let's break it all down right now on Frogs Insider. Hey, Frog fans, welcome in to another episode of Frogs Insider. Jamie Plunkett here alongside Melissa Treebwasser. As always, busy weekend in Fort Worth in a lot of different ways, Melissa. But first and foremost, let's shout out new partner Anduno. Anduno is a TCU student athlete owned, or former TCU student athlete owned company that is focused on student athlete recovery, helping athletes recover better and faster and stronger. They've got a variety of products over at their website, anduno.us, that you can check out and support the company. They are doing some really cool NIL related stuff over at TCU as well. So your support of Anduno is kind of by proxy supporting TCU student athletes. They'll have a couple other deals that they're running throughout the rest of the spring semester. One they ran recently was that every purchase of a jacket would give a backpack and a massage gun to TCU swimming and diving. And they're going to do more along those lines here throughout the spring, and we'll keep you apprised of all of those things. But for now, go to anduno.us, check out their line of products. They've got some good recovery therapy products. They've got some good backpacks and travel bags and a lot of other things to look at as well. So give them a look today over at anduno.us. Also, we are part of the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Podcast Network. So if you want to listen in your ears to our show along with a podcast about every other D1 football program in the state of Texas, you can go search Dave Campbell's College Podcast Network wherever you get your podcast, and that feed will show up. You'll get our show. You'll get those pesky Between Two Bears fellas who are probably having a very different podcast episode this week than Melissa and I. After their second loss to TCU in women's basketball, they lost twice to TCU in men's basketball this year. They lost to TCU in football this year. They're losing to TCU a lot these days. Even
call it Fort Worth South down there.
Despite the 14-year head start in the Big 12. You can also listen to things like the Gambling Gauchos, talking about all the ins and outs of Texas Tech athletics. And there are also shows for UTSA, who's, by the way, got a great baseball team this year, or UTEP, or Sam Houston, or any other of the D1 football programs in the state of Texas. That feed has a show for all of them. If that seems too overwhelming, though, you can always just go to the Frogs Insider feed, either on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you're subscribed, leave a rating and a review, comment champs under this show for the women's basketball team back to back. And then also go like the YouTube channel, like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to make sure you get notifications every time we post something new. Tons of new content this week, not only this podcast, but post-game press conferences from every TCU baseball game this weekend, and a very lengthy post-game press conference with Mark Campbell, Olivia Miles, and Marta Suarez after their Big 12 championship. Man, crazy to think that they were in such a good mood, Melissa, after winning the title.
Listen, I want to say, first of all, shout out to you for doing a solid and holding the camera for me today. And because people are getting pretty sick of my shaky videos because I only have one working shoulder right now. But yeah, what a day, Jamie. I was thinking, I was posting my photos from the game, and which I need to get over to Horned Frog Blitz and post some photo galleries. That's my bad.
Yeah,
I said I would, and I never have.
Your presence has been requested multiple times now.
I need to get my crop together as per usual. But it was just like if I can just have a moment to just reflect and do some self-gratification about this season. I don't know that I like how I said that. Anyways, I didn't even y'all, I've been up since 5:30.
I'm just going to let you talk your way through this.
I flew in from Nashville. I took my dogs right to the dog park as soon as I landed because I needed to let them run. Bauer rolled and poop. So then we made an unplanned stop at the dog wash. Had to wash him off, which meant I had very little time to get over to the arena, which was packed. I've never seen so many media people at a TCU basketball game, men's or women's. There was more tripods that I've ever seen. And then I just spent, 40 minutes like clenched, just terrified of the result of this game. So I apologize if I'm even a little bit loopier than normal. It's been a day, but I just think it's so like there's been a couple of these moments of just like, I can't believe this is happening at TCU. And today was very much one of those. To see all the media that were there, to have College Game Day, which has never been in a women's Big 12 game ever, to have it happen at TCU, to have it happen at TCU against Baylor in a game that determined the outright Big 12 championship, to beat Baylor again for a 5th consecutive time after 30-plus years of misery. For somebody whose basketball was my first love, I learned to dribble a ball at like 5. I started coaching at 16. Basketball is the first sport that broke my heart because I'm a Kings fan. So I've been hurt. TCU is my second sports love, and to have TCU women's basketball, a sport I love so much, be accomplishing so much, and be on such the right side of national media, it's just really cool. And it was so packed in there. It had to be close to a sellout. It was so loud. Fort Worth showed up for that team, and they gave them something really special tonight. And I know you were showing me some comments from the board about people view women's sports differently, but if you call yourself a TCU fan and you can't get excited about what was going on the hardwood today, like, man, like, I feel bad for you. Like, legit. I'm not even going to beg people to jump on board anymore. We don't need to. The bandwagon's full up, man. You can still come if you want, but I don't feel like I need to beg people to show up. I feel bad if you can't sit back and watch that and be like, hell yeah. Like, this is awesome. Olivia Miles is going to be a top 3 draft pick. Marta Suarez, I'm going to call it right now, is going to sneak into the back end of the first round. I'm going to say it.
Who was there first? Who was there first on that take for you?
Listen, I was a little. I talked to GMs, Jamie. I thought she was more of an early second.
Whoa!
I'm just saying.
We went in less than 2 minutes from self gratification to I talked to GMs. That's the range you get here on Frogs Insider, folks.
But after talking to GMs more recently, I think she's a first rounder. So yeah, I think it's really cool.
Future Dallas Wings, Marta Suarez.
No, we don't. Like, here's the deal.
I'm speaking it into existence. Wings
have 1 in 31. They have 1 in 31. So they're
first overall pick, Marta Suarez.
Hey, I would take it. Honestly, that's what they need. They need shooting and they need a big. Marta does it all.
Checks 2 boxes.
Checks 2 boxes. So yeah, it was really cool, and that team is so special, and I really feel like they're starting to hit their stride. And I talked to Marta after the game. I ran into her on my way out, and she promised me they'd win Friday night because I can't get up to KC till Saturday. So she's like, for you, Melissa, we got this. I was like, okay, thanks. Appreciate it. But they don't need to win the Big 12 tournament. This is a team that's going to host. They're going to be a 3 seed. I don't think they can play their way into a 2 seed at this point, and I don't think they can drop from a 3. So I don't know if we'll see them at their very, very best next weekend. But this is a team that has a chance to make some real noise in March and do so without ever having to leave the friendly confines of Fort Worth.
So let's start with the game that happened on Sunday afternoon at Schollmeyer. First and foremost, like you said, it was completely packed. There were over 6,300 fans in attendance for this basketball game. A good number of Baylor fans, but not as many as I was maybe anticipating. Not as many as last season, for sure. And it was a really interesting basketball game, kind of a tale of 2 halves, although there are 4 quarters in women's basketball. Neither team shot very well in the first half. TCU led 26-15 at halftime. The Frogs shot 26.7% in the first half. The Bears shot 24%. So really kind of a defensive struggle. And then things opened up in the second half, mostly because of Marta Suarez and Olivia Miles. Suarez knocks down a couple threes, including a really big one about midway through the third quarter that got the fans on their feet, forced a timeout, put TCU up by their game-high 19 points at that point, 40-21. And Miles did what Olivia Miles does throughout the second half. The two combined for 40 points. Wait, I'm on the wrong team here. Suarez also had 11 rebounds and 4 assists, a couple of steals. Miles also had 9 rebounds and 3 assists. Like they did what they did all season again on Sunday afternoon. And after the game, Baylor coach Nikki Collins said, They've got their team is so special. They have a Batman and a Robin, and you never know which one is going to be Batman and which one is going to be Robin. And that has been the case for TCU all year. And now they sit here 27-4 with another Big 12 title, and it's largely because of those two players again today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I just think they're so special and they have such a unique synergy. I love that quote from Nikki Collin. I love Nikki Collin as a coach and a person. I think she's great, and I love her as a quote because she will just call it like it is. She has zero problem just being super upfront with you. So coming from her, I think that's a great quote. But yeah, I mean, when you look at what those two do on the court, Liv had a couple of, I think she had like 6 turnovers today. It wasn't our cleanest game, but a lot of those were just, she was a little hyped up. This was a really emotional game for Olivia. She wanted this one badly, and she played a little hot. She also got really frustrated with the officiating, and I can't blame her. I mean, she attacked the rim pretty consistently, and I think only went to the line maybe
three times. Three attempted free throws.
So that doesn't make a ton of sense when you look at how aggressive Baylor was playing her. I thought they made a really good adjustment that they tried to play her straight up after letting her shoot 23s that were mostly wide open in the first matchup this season. But what that ended up doing was freeing up Marta to go one-on-one, and just like, you cannot defend her with a guard. She's too strong. You can't defend her with a big. She's too fast and too crafty. And when she's hitting her outside shot, she's just a real problem. And even when they tried to double her a little bit, she's become such a good passer out of the double team. So they are a special duo that has really figured out how to play together. I loved Marta's quote after the game. I'll censor it because this is a family show, but she gave us the best quote of the season. She goes, "Sometimes you just F with somebody," talking about how her and Liv have built such a great relationship. But I also want to say, I felt like, shout out Xavi Xavi Lopez for doing the scout. He scouted Baylor every time. He's got this team nailed. Mark said as much after the game. This was, I think, the best managed game that this TCU staff has put together. I thought their substitutions was smart. I thought when they went to Kennedy Basham over Silva to match up with Baylor, I thought was really smart. He sat Olivia late in the third for a couple of minutes because she had just it was too much. She was getting a little too emotional. She committed a really, what could have been a really bad foul because it was her third, and she picked up her fourth shortly thereafter. Thankfully, she didn't foul out, but she was just a little too emotional, and he sat her down and basically he let her sit for a minute and stew, and then he went over to her, patted her on the leg, and basically was like, "We need you. You got to get your head right." And I haven't really seen him do that with her at all this season. And I thought it really helped. He really did a good job of managing the rotations and managing the players in those big moments. He called a couple timeouts when Baylor came out in the second half of the third after that Marta three and went to a full court press and started trapping the ball immediately. TCU turned it over like 4 straight times. And they made some really good adjustments in that timeout and were able to attack the opening against those traps. So I thought this was a well-coached game. It wasn't the best executed game, but when you consider the stakes and the rivalry and the emotion and the crowd, TCU really did a good job of coming back to center when they needed to. And I think you have to give a ton of credit to Mark and his assistants and his staff, and to the players like Marta as well, who we talk about her tangibles, but her intangibles are so important to this team with her leadership and her emotion and the way she keeps everybody locked in and knows when to get in people's faces a little bit too.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, when she's knocking down shots, she's as deadly as any player in the country. She was 5 of 6 from 3-point range today. Had those big threes late.
I didn't even realize
in the game.
that.
Yeah, 5 of 6. I mean, she was the only. She and Talia Scott, who I want to talk about here for a second, were the only players in the game to make multiple 3-pointers. And while Suarez was kind of the beacon of efficiency with 5 for 6, Talia Scott really had a hard time, and a lot of that was because of TCU's defense. Not only Miles stepping up defensively, but Donovan Hunter was tasked with marking her for the majority of the game.
Well, Taylor Bigby had her in the first half, and Dono switched over in the second when Van Geitenbeek got in a little bit of foul trouble. Taylor Bigby did a hell of a job on Talia Scott in the first half.
Yeah, and so I mean, but that game plan, like you were talking about with Xavi, to pressure her, trap her, force her to the left, I think was a really good plan. She was 6 of 23 from the floor, just 2 of 12 from 3-point range. She did have 17 points, 13 of which came in the fourth quarter. But like Miles talked about after the game, TCU doesn't get a lot of credit for how good it is defensively. And Miles believes that that's because they're not the full court press, very physical, in your face kind of defense, but they do force you into tough shots and they force you to miss a lot of tough shots. And that showed up in the box score with Talia Scott today. I mean, she's been Baylor's leading scorer all year. She's been a bucket all year. And the Frogs slowing her down, especially in the third quarter when Baylor's defense was ratcheting up, I think is why TC was able to protect a lead. And then obviously they were able to hold on to it late.
Yeah, I mean, Talia Scott's one of my favorite non-TCU division players. Makes it really hard to hate Baylor because I just love her game, and she's an awesome person. I've had her on my WNBA podcast before. She's just great, delight to talk to. She's a dog man, and I think Olivia Miles said it best: is they really make players take tough shots. And all credit in the world to Talia Scott in that fourth quarter because the shots she were hitting were tough shots, off balance threes, one-footed jumpers. I mean, she had Dono draped all over her to the point where like she was so effective that like Donovan Hunter does not go under screens when the scouting report says to go through screens. And for the first time ever, I saw Mark get in her face a little bit like, you can't go under the screen. You got to fight through it. And Dono was looking at him like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm not giving her any space. And she's just, but Dono, of course, is Dono. And so she locked back in and made it tough. And Talia missed a couple of shots finally. But there was a stretch where she made like 5 shots in a row, and every single one of them looked impossible, and I thought there was no way it was going in. So credit to her. I think in that sense too. I talked about this with Mark and with Marta after the game, but I really want to give credit to Marta Suarez's versatility on the defensive end of the floor. When you look at the matchup she's had in the last 3 of the last 4 games against West Virginia, Iowa State, and tonight, she's guarded 3 really high level, really effective players, and all 3 players do things differently. And her ability to be physically strong with players, to be quick defensively, to get in the way. And she's done it without fouling out, which was a problem a month ago when she was having to play physical. I think that is a big underrated aspect too of why this defense is so effective. And Kennedy Basham is another part of that too. She's really stepped in. She's not going to give you a lot on offense. If she gives you anything, it's a bonus, but defensively, she's so instinctive. And she's such a veteran player. She's seen everything. I think she gives those guards a lot of confidence to take more chances because they know if somebody gets to the paint, both Kennedy and Clara Silva are going to make it really hard for them to score.
They are. And that's, I think, what really makes TCU tick on that side of the court. And then when you have the duo of Miles and Suarez offensively to A, lead you in scoring, and then B, create for other players. You mentioned Taylor Bigby's defense. She also scored 10 points in the second, in between the third and fourth quarter. She put together one of the most complete games we've seen from her this season, as her role, fluctuates a little bit here and there, but has really kind of stabilized into your 3-and-D ish kind of a player alongside Dono, although they both do so much more than just 3-and-Ds.
Dono hasn't shot the ball well in the last couple of weeks from 3. She's really struggled, but the things that she does that don't show up. I mean, in every single game against a ranked opponent over this tough stretch, Donovan Hunter has had the defensive play that has really like gotten the team over the hump or put the exclamation mark. I mean, she's so important to this team. I hope she keeps shooting. I don't think she's losing her confidence whatsoever. It doesn't seem that way. She's going to get hot again. And when you look at what's coming up, like you kind of like, okay, Donna, we survived with you, struggled a little bit. This is a great time to get hot. Yep. Now it's time. And I fully expect that will happen. Taylor's been awesome since stepping into the starting lineup for Maddie Shear. She's really, really found her confidence, and that's something that she struggled with. A big thing, they talked to her because she could have gone a lot of places and been a starter. For sure. Like she would have been heavily recruited out of the portal. But they really wanted to develop her confidence, and she, I think, wants to be a starter, and she's really taken on to that role. And I think she's put herself on the radar. I would not be surprised at all if she gets a camp invite in the W because she has that length. She's shooting the ball well. She's playing with confidence. She can handle it. She can play the 3 or the 4. She played a lot of 4 today. So yeah, I mean, you just like there's just not a lot of weak spots. The rotation's gotten shorter, which you worry about going into March, but at the same time, this is the time of year where you want your best players on the floor the longest, and when Sheffy can give you a couple minutes, Clara Balefeld can come in and give you a couple minutes, that's really all you need.
And there have been, I think, one of the areas of growth we've seen from Campbell this year is in how he's managed his rotations throughout Big 12 play, because the last season specifically, it felt like the bench was incredibly short, and that's grown that's expanded a little bit this season, like you said, with Sheffy and Bielefeld. Also,
Basham.
when Basham, and then when Shear was healthy, Taylor coming off the bench as well. I mean, that's four capable players coming off of the bench for you at any given time, and so I think the long term impact of that this season will be beneficial to TCU now that they enter postseason play, because those starters maybe got 2 or 3 minutes of rest over the course of a season. That extrapolates out to 200 more minutes of rest than they may have gotten. That's pretty good to see. So now TCU heads into postseason play. They go to the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. That'll be played at T-Mobile Center from March 4th to March 8th. TCU has a double bye, which means they won't be playing until the quarterfinals on Friday, like you said. And then it's 3 games in a row, right? And so they might not play their best basketball. I think they're still going to play their best basketball because, like Olivia and Marta both said afterwards, they haven't reached that next level that they want to reach quite yet. And why not try to reach it in the Big 12 tournament and give yourself even more momentum going into the NCAA tournament? And it's going to be really exciting. They have a very cool opportunity in the NCAA tournament if they get the correct region, right? And this is something that people maybe don't remember from last year, but unlike the men's tournament, there are only 2 regions that host Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games in the women's basketball tournament. The top 4 seeds in each of those regions host top 4 seeds host the first 2 rounds of the tournament at home. And then you head this year either to Sacramento, California, hometown of ours truly, or Fort Worth. And so if TCU ends up in the Fort Worth side of the bracket, there's a real possibility if they get on a run that they could play March Madness basketball all the way through the Elite 8 right here in their hometown, which would be such a gift. The team knows that it's a possibility. Olivia Miles talked about it in postgame today. And said it's something that they're taking really seriously, and they want to give the committee every reason to put them in the Fort Worth region starting now. So I think that means they're going to be locked in for the Big 12 tournament, knowing that can be while it might not bump them up to a 2 seed, it could bump them from Sacramento to Fort Worth and give them that opportunity.
Well, and the other part of that is they're very likely going to have a shot at a couple of revenge games now that we've lost the round robin schedule. I really think Utah will be who they face Friday night, and then they could very likely get Texas Tech on Saturday. Could also be Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's playing really well right now, but those are 2 teams that you played once and lost on the road to, and so get back at a neutral site. If there's one thing I know, they will want revenge. And I heard some rumblings after the game too, as I was walking out, not from players, but from some other people, that they were hoping that they would get a chance to get right against Utah. So I think if we see that game, that would be a fun rematch to have on Friday. And Marta promised me they're gonna win Friday night so that I can watch them play Saturday. And then I also said, I was like, if I'm gonna fly up Saturday, like might as well win Saturday too.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty
get your
confident.
money's worth.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that for me personally that they're gonna take.
Clearly, TCU women's basketball over the last 2 years has been doing this solely for your self-gratification, Melissa. Another team that's playing really, really well in Schollmeyer and beyond right now is the men's team. Men's basketball has won 6 of their last 7. Xavier Edmonds has 9 double-doubles in TCU's last 11 games. This is a team that has gone from likely to miss the NCAA tournament to likely to be in the NCAA tournament right now. I think a lot of bracketologists, as accurate as they may or may not have been in the past, have TCU in that last 4 buys section at this point. A testament to multiple things. First and foremost, this team's just simple refusal to collapse or give in after losses like they suffered against Colorado. And also the coaching effort of Jamie Dixon and his staff to consistently put this team in a position to win big basketball games. They did so 2 more times again this week with the exceptionally late night and poorly officiated Tuesday night game against Arizona State, which was an abomination almost in every aspect other than the fact that TCU won, and a road win at Kansas State, a place where men's basketball has had some success, but TCU athletics generally does not up in Manhattan. A win over a coachless team, a desperate team in Kansas State, and the Frogs typically in those situations maybe don't play their best, but they had a great second half to kind of pull away from Kansas State and win that one 77-68. This team has become really, really good at closing games. And I tried to ask Dixon about this on Monday night, and I said the word
30-minute
recent.
response.
Oh, I
And
said the word recently, and every time you ask him about something that happened recently this year, he will remind you that TCU beat Florida and
yeah,
Wisconsin back in November. And it's like, yes, we understand that those are incredible wins, but you've won 6 out of your last 7, brother. And I'm trying to ask you about this stretch of growth. Anywho, um,
we love
they
him.
finished they finished that game on a nice run. They finished the Kansas State game on, I believe, a 10-3 run over the last 4 minutes to prevent Kansas State from coming back in that game. It seems like this is a team full of closers all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden, but over the last 2 months, a team that has developed into one that is very capable of closing out close games late. And if nothing else, that is a fantastic trait to have developed heading into postseason play.
Yeah, I mean, I had the game. I was in Nashville, as I previously said, and I was at this place called the Listening Room, and it's a really cool vibe where like songwriters that have written some of your favorite country songs, I guess, are your favorite. I don't really listen to country music. I knew like 3 of the 15 songs probably, but they were good. I was really excited, but it was cool, and I was enjoying it. But I was also like, I need to be paying attention to this TCU game and make sure that they win so that they go dancing. And I had it on, and it was really like good to see how they different players rise to the occasion, it seems, night in and night out. Like Xavier Edmonds went on his like personal 8-0 run where he had a steal, and like he's playing so damn well right now. He does so many things right. But to being able to bring in a Tanner Toolson for the stretch run and know that he's gonna box out, get rebounds, dive for balls, make plays. To see Punch, we've seen him, have huge plays like against Oklahoma State. Like, he played so well. There's so many of these guys that are capable of stepping up in those moments, that it's great to have it, like you said, a team full of closers that seem to play their best when the game is on the line. And I think in all of the Jamie Dixon years, we've often had a dude. We've had a Desmond Bain or a Mike Miles or a Kenrich Williams or whoever else, but we've rarely had a team this cohesive where everybody seemed to be united in those tight moments and moving the same direction. And I think that this team obviously is not the most talented team TCU has had. They're not the biggest. They're not the most athletic. They're not the best shooting. But what they are is the most team. And because they're so committed to defense and because they're so selfless, that can win you a lot of games in those tight stretches. And they're proving that. And they've beaten teams that are better than them. They've lost to teams that are worse than them too. I mean, that also happens. But as every coach will tell you, you want to be playing your best basketball in March. And it feels like the last couple of weeks they've been building up to exactly that.
Mark Campbell said it after the game, the women's win tonight, that hungry dogs hunt best, in reference to how Baylor played in the second half as they were trying to claw their way back into the game. It reminded me of something that Xavier Edmonds said after the Arizona State win, which was, we've got a bunch of dogs on this team. And I do think that TCU basketball is really hungry right now. I think the early season losses, like to New Orleans and the blown
Notre
lead
Dame.
against Kansas, losing to Notre Dame, not being able to pull off that win against Michigan, the Utah loss, the Colorado loss, like they still feel slighted, I think, nationally as far as perception goes. And whatever kind of motivation you need to get yourself rolling this time of season, go ahead and use that. Nobody's gonna ding you for it. But this is a team that has stayed hungry, has stayed focused, has continued to work incredibly hard in practice, and they're starting to reap the benefits of that on the court. I mean, you look at this box score from Saturday, and yes, Edmonds had his 15 and 13, his double-double, like we're accustomed to him having at this point. David Punch had 13 and 5, dealt with some foul trouble late, but managed to avoid fouling out. And then the other 2 players in double figures for TCU scoring wise were Tanner Toolson, who knocked down 3 of 5 from 3-point range, pulled down 4 rebounds, and Lataris Lelevicius, who had 12 points. He was 5 of 9 from the floor, had 3 rebounds as well in 22 minutes. And he's a guy who I think has been integral to this over the last couple of months, giving up his starting role to Micah Robinson, who has made TCU's starting 5 better defensively, allows them to start games a little bit faster. And Lelevicius has the comfort of being able to come off the bench, and he looks much more comfortable in that role. He's knocking down a lot more shots in that role. and he provides that little bit of scoring and length and height that TCU needs when either Edmonds or Punches is coming out of the game. So this is a team that, while they've worked hard and they're coming into their own, I think the coaching staff has also started to rotate these guys a little bit better as well. We've seen Toulson essentially take all of Jace Posey's minutes at this point because of the energy that Toulson brings. Brock Harding has seen his minutes go down a little bit, although he's got 16 assists and just 2 turnovers in TCU's last 2 games. I mean, that's exactly what you want for your point guard. I don't care if he goes 1 of 10 from the floor. Right, I
don't want him taking 10 shots. I want him like
sure.
1 for 6
he was 3 of 7 against K-State.
Perfect.
He scored 8 points. Right, it's
perfect.
not like he was filling up the box score in that way, but he had 6 assists to 1 turnover. He had 4 rebounds. Like he has grown a tremendous amount this season in spite of his shooting woes, which I'm a little bit surprised by the shooting woes, just because he was a really good shooter at Iowa. But the fact that he has mentally been able to overcome those challenges and still be a really productive member of this starting 5 and a great facilitator, I think he's on his way to averaging more assists per game than anyone since Alex Robinson. Like, that's the company he's keeping as far as distributing to teammates goes. Obviously he wants to shoot better. I mean, but in this game he was 2 of 4 from 3, right? So like you give a little, you get a little with Brock Harding. But this is a team that I think has some potential. I don't know what they're going to do via, as far as making noise in the Big 12 tournament or the NCAA tournament. But the fact that we're sitting here on March 1st, recording this show, talking about TCU basketball and trending towards being in the NCAA tournament is frankly not a place I thought we would be back in December.
Yeah.
And so I'll take it.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly the point, right? Is this team has overachieved. And or maybe they've just figured out now how to properly achieve what they're capable of. And I think that's great. Like, I think we said it last show, is that, I mean, this is arguably the best coaching job of Jamie Dixon's tenure in Fort Worth when you look at where this team is compared to where we thought they'd be 2 months ago. And I think that it's pretty awesome the way they haven't given up, the way they've galvanized, the way they fight and claw. They're still, like, again, like that the way they lost to Colorado was super disheartening. I mean, there's still some of that's happening, but at the end of the day, this team has a chance to finish above 500, something that's never happened for TCU basketball in the Big 12. They have a chance to not need a play-in game to get to the tournament, which would be cool. I don't expect them to make a ton of noise up in Kansas City. I don't think that I'd like them to win a game. I think that would be pretty critical, just to have some positive momentum going into the tournament. But matchup-wise, if they get in a region where they can, be physical and out defense somebody, they absolutely can win a game in March. Can they win 2? I don't know. I don't really care. Like, I hope so. It'd be cool. I'd be excited about it. But if they can get there and play the way they're playing, I would say that nothing would surprise me with this group, because they've pretty much showed us everything over the course of a season.
They've run the gamut in results. They are one of the most confounding resumes I think men's basketball has seen in the last 10 years with
I want to see the blind
losses
resume. I want to see the blind resume of TCU.
It's crazy. I mean, let me pull up this site right now. Hang on. Yeah,
while you're doing that, I also think we need to talk about the fact that TCU has never had both the men's and the women's team in the tournament in the same year ever. So that would be pretty freaking cool too.
It would be pretty cool. I don't know why this hasn't updated yet, because bballnet.com normally does a great job of this, but this is a site where you can go and it will show you the quadrant breakdown of every men's basketball team along with current standings. TCU currently 19-10, 9-7 in Big 12 play, winning this is something notable, winning one of their last 2 regular season games, Melissa, would put them above 500 in Big 12 play for the first time since joining the conference. An insane thing, but a really good thing, especially in a year like this one. They are currently 4-6 in quad 1 games, with wins over Florida and Wisconsin on a neutral site, a quad 1 win at Baylor, and then the quad 1 win against Iowa State recently.
Baylor's still a quad 1 win?
Baylor is still a quad 1 win. They are 4-2 in quad 2 games, with their losses being at Utah and at Colorado. Their quad 3 record is 3-1. The Notre Dame home loss is a quad 3 loss. And then
Irish.
they are 7-1 in quad 4 games with the
UNO.
loss to New Orleans on opening day. Insane.
Yeah, that's
Insane
a weird,
schedule.
Weird ass resume,
Sorry,
man.
so they with the Kansas State win, they are 5-2 in quad 2 wins. I should note that. This is not accounted for that quite yet. Currently, I think tied for 6th in the Big 12 standings. Picked to finish 10th. Picked to finish 10th, right? And so you can say what you want about the state of TCU men's basketball. You can say what you want about whether or not you think that Jamie Dixon is the coach that can get them to the next level. You can say what you want about the talent acquisition and the budget that they have and whatever else. But the reality is they were picked 10th and right now they're tied for 6th.
Yeah.
With a chance to, I don't think they can break into the top 5, but the chance to be outright 5th or outright 6th in the Big 12 heading into the tournament. I think at the beginning of the year, if someone had told you, hey, TCU is going to win 20 basketball games in the regular season, they're going to finish above 500 in Big 12 play for the first time in program history, and they're going to be a top 6 seed in the Big 12 tournament, you would have signed on the dotted line right then.
For sure.
Absolutely would have signed on the dotted line right then. So, yes, how you get there matters. But if we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about the New Orleans loss or the Utah loss or the Notre Dame loss, we also have to talk about the Florida win and the Iowa State win and the Baylor wins, sweeping Baylor for the first time since 2018, things like that.
Well, I think we also have to think about, too, how you get there matters. But, it stops mattering the minute you get to March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the tournament, everybody's 0-0. It doesn't matter anymore. And so you want to finish strong, you want to close. But people talk about it when you get to March Madness. But all that matters at this point is the team you are today. Does not matter the team that you are. Once you get in the dance, it's all about what have you done for me lately, and we don't need to look backwards anymore. And so I think you make great points in that, sure, we have been plenty critical of this team and this program throughout the year, but I think that if you're going to be critical, you also need to acknowledge when they're playing well, and they are doing a lot of things well right now. And I would tip of the cap to Jamie Dixon, because what he's done, when you think of all of the ways this could have gone, especially after that heartbreaking opening day and losing your center, and then the way they lost at Kansas, so many other, we've seen, you never want one loss to turn into 2 and 2 to turn into 4. And we've seen that, historically in TCU athletics across pretty much every sport, right? That one bad game can spiral you quickly, and they didn't get weaker, they got stronger. And also, shout out to Jamie Dixon for showing up and sitting courtside today at the TCU women's game. That's pretty freaking cool, too. Cool. The support that we get across the sports is pretty awesome. So, yeah, I like watching this team play, even though they play a brand of basketball that can be hard to watch. But just seeing dudes just fly for loose balls and rebound and block shots and play with a ton of emotion, that's really gratifying to me as somebody who loves the game of basketball. I think that they're a team that could rally some support behind them if they get an opportunity to get into the dance and they win a game. I think they'll be that scrappy team that everybody's rooting for.
I fully agree with you there. Another scrappy team that everybody's rooting for that actually put together a really good weekend is a top 25 TCU baseball, ranked 18 coming into this weekend.
That's pretty.
Listen,
hey,
listen.
Not an underdog.
Go look at what UCLA did in Arlington this weekend, and just tell me that that's not the best team in the country, because they won. I believe they beat. Who was it on Friday night? Was it Mississippi State? They beat 12-3. Then they ruled Texas A&M on Saturday 12-1, and then they beat Mississippi State today.
Yeah,
8-5 in extra innings. A&M Saturday 12-1. And then who'd they beat on Friday?
And then on Friday is at
was it Tennessee?
Yep, Tennessee.
Yeah, smoked Tennessee, I think. And
let's see here. Yeah, I can't. No, I don't know. So they needed to come back against Mississippi State, but yeah, they did.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you're in the 9th inning, down 2 runs to Mississippi State. How about Rock Chalowski just hits a 2-run home run for you to tie things up, and then you score 3 in the top of the 10th? This is UCLA is the best team in the country. Anyways, this is not a UCLA podcast. I just need people to understand how good that baseball team is. I've said it to multiple people this week. I think I said it on the show last week as well. That's the best college baseball team I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of college baseball. Regardless of that, TCU is now on a 4-game winning streak. They beat Loyola Marymount to end their time in California. by 14-4, I believe, run rule. They came into this weekend against New Haven, who is newly D1, does not have the horses to keep up with most D1 teams at all.
Mhm.
And then you add the fact that TCU is incredibly talented and very good despite their record coming into the weekend. You kind of knew what was going to happen this weekend, Melissa. And
Yeah.
then TCU goes out and they outscore New Haven by a combined 46-8
Yeah.
over the 3 games. They were patient at the plate. They walked a lot. They were hit a lot by pitches. They took advantage of the strikes that were thrown, and they did what you expected them to do against against a team like New Haven. This is, I think I texted you this. New Haven had one full-time coach with them this weekend. Their head coach had a medical procedure done last week, was not with the team. They only have one assistant coach on the team. They traveled to Fort Worth with one assistant coach, a GA, and a trainer. That was it.
That's rough.
That was it. They weren't allowed to, they couldn't they played last weekend, was their first weekend. They played it in Florida. They got swept by Mizzou. Because of the snowstorm in the Northeast, they could not return to Connecticut between weekends. And so they had to go from Florida to Texas. Like everything that was stacked against New Haven was stacked against New Haven this weekend.
Yeah.
So TCU in a weekend like this where you can't really, people will say, oh, there's really nothing positive to take away regardless of the result. You still, I think, played to a level where people can take some positive things away from the weekend. They didn't chase out of the strike zone. They stole 20 bases. They won by 38 total runs over the course of 3 games. The pitching is still in a bad place. Is in a challenging place, but I think they're coming out of it a little bit. But really, this was a great palate cleanser of a weekend for baseball, and I think it's going to set them up, like just as a reminder, like, oh yeah, we're good at this, right? Like when you play the number 1 team in the country, and then you also have when 5 of your first 7 games are against ranked opponents, and it's hard, you maybe start to doubt yourself a little bit. This was a good weekend to kind of get the mentals back on track.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I was going to say is I think at the end of the day, I mean this team has opened up with a brutal schedule, and there's still a lot of young guys. I mean we think of Sawyer Strohschneider and the fact that he's going to be a first round pick and probably a top 10 pick, and you forget he's also only a true sophomore.
Yep.
And even Chase Brunson is just a junior, and a lot of these guys are new and they're new to TCU. Even Liddington, like it's his first year playing at this level, so there's a lot of guys that didn't get a chance to ease into big time baseball. And so sometimes, yeah, like I feel bad. I'm sure those New Haven kids have families, and I'm sure their families did not enjoy watching their sons play this weekend. But at the same time, like, yeah, TCU needed a get right weekend, and they needed to get back home. They needed to get to Lupton. They needed to have the support of the fans in that regard. And they just needed to remember, like you said, that, oh, no, we're a very good baseball team. This is still a really good baseball team. You brought up the pitching and the pitching being in a bad place. So I think when we look, like obviously there's still a lot of unknowns. We don't know Tommy Laporte's situation at this point. We don't know Noah Franco's situation at this point. What we know is who rolled out there this weekend, right? And I think that the big concern that I'm still seeing from folks is, do we have starters that can give you 5 innings? Because the bullpen is a little taxed with injuries too. Still a couple guys banged up that we haven't really seen much of or any at all. You've got Uli Fernsler who's still on a pitch count. So you need your starters to go 5, 6, 7 innings, and that just does not seem to be something that's happening. What are your thoughts kind of on what the rotation, where it is right now and where it can be pretty quickly?
Yeah, that is probably the biggest glaring red flag, I think, for TCU still at this point, is just the lack of length from the starting rotation. Mason Brassfield, it's not easy to be thrust into the Friday night role and be like, hey, by the way, your first Friday night start's going to come at UCLA. So
yeah,
there were nerves there. He got knocked around a little bit. It happens. You come back and you bounce back from that. I thought he was better this Friday than he was last Friday. Still maybe not where you want him to be against a team like New Haven. But progress is progress at this point in the year, and you're going to need Mason Brassfield at his best and his best needs to start happening here pretty quickly because Big 12 play starts in a couple weeks at Arizona State, who's playing some pretty good baseball. Um, and look, he gave you 4 innings. He struck out 5. He did give up a couple runs, but I thought the command was a lot better. I thought the slider was really, really good. I think I think he's at a point where he's got to trust his stuff a little bit more than he does because with Mason, like the talent is clearly there. He added a sinker this offseason. It was really good against Arkansas. The sinker, his second time through the lineup against Arkansas, was awesome. He needs to get back to that and really trust that third pitch a little bit more. And I think he's going to be long term just fine. Lance Davis, I think, has shown you progress over the course of his first 3 starts. Obviously, there's still not the length there that you want, but you go from, I think, not even making it out of the second inning against Oklahoma to where, let me pull him up real quick. Sorry. To not getting out of the second inning against Oklahoma to a start at UCLA where he pitched into the third inning, into the fourth inning. Why is this not loading? He gave you 4. So he gave you 3 innings against Oklahoma, just 1 strikeout, 4 earned runs. He gave you 4 innings against UCLA, 5 strikeouts, 4 earned runs. He gave you, 3 1/3 against New Haven. Like the command wasn't quite there, but I liked what I saw from him. I think he's a talented kid. Is he going to stay in the weekend rotation long term? I'm not sure. That depends on maybe some other guys stepping up. Maybe if Tommy comes back and is ready to rock, Lance is the odd man out. I don't know, but I think he's shown growth over his first 3 career starts, and hopefully he can continue to work that out against Tulane. Uli Fernsler is the one that I'm really curious about because, like you said, his first 2 starts have been on a pitch count, and that was kicked up to 60 today. It'll probably go up to 75 next week against Tulane. How much can he give you in that number of pitches is really what I want to see from him, because I thought, he pitched really, really well until the 2 home runs against UCLA. I thought he worked his way out of some good trouble today. He gave up 3 hits in the first inning and a run, didn't let it spiral, right? Which we've seen from TCU this year at times. I thought he managed that challenge well, gave you 3 full innings on 56 pitches. Can you be more efficient next weekend and maybe stretch your 75 pitches into 5 innings, right? Like, can you cut down on the number of pitches you're throwing per inning? Behind them, though, I don't really know at this point who TCU would turn to go to the starting rotation. Maybe a Nate Stern, because he stretched out a little bit, and he's a guy who's got a good pitch mix and can do it. Maybe Trevor Baumler is a guy that you roll back out there to try for a weekend start. He gave you 3 really good innings against New Haven on Sunday. I thought his command was good. Maybe that's a confidence booster for him. But the reality is that TCU went to the transfer portal for bullpen arms this offseason, not starters. Now, one of those bullpen arms has been fantastic. Walter Quinn has been excellent.
Wait, but I want to interrupt you because I want to talk about Walt Quinn, and I want to tee this up for you, though, because before you talk about him, I want to say your piece you did on Horned Frog Blitz on Walt Quinn was awesome.
Thank you.
Really great piece, really interesting kid, great story, and he has been fantastic, and you feel like he can step into that long middle relief role. So I'll let you talk about Walt. But I wanted to pump up your piece. Go read it if you haven't had a chance. He's a great, and I like I think his FCA director from high school or someone that knew him from FCA that was his director, like reached out to me and asked for some photos, and just talked about what a great human being, a great kid he is off the field too. So that was really cool.
That is really cool. He is a couple different things that are really fun about Walt Quinn. First and foremost, he's married.
Yeah.
Right? He's one of the older guys on the team. He got married this summer, was on his honeymoon, for some TCU baseball event that he ended up missing because he was on his honeymoon. Obviously, the team was cool about that. And he started playing at Grand Canyon on the club baseball team. He
really?
was not on the baseball team at the start of his career. He was playing club, and he was telling me about, during his club experience, he was talking with his club coach, and they were really trying to find a way to add more life to his fastball because it was sitting there, 90-91, really didn't have a lot of movement. And he tried every grip under the sun and every kind of arm thing and all this other stuff to try and find more movement because he was still pitching over the top at that point. And then his coach was like, well, what if we just dropped you down sidearm? Just let's look at what that would do. And that's when things really took off
That's
for him.
crazy.
And so he kept playing with his delivery and that funky sidearm that has he sticks his arm out behind him all the way midway through his delivery. It added a ton of life to the fastball, but more importantly, it made his changeup and his slider almost unhittable. And so that is kind of what got him onto the team at Grand Canyon. Spent 3 really productive years there, racked up 11 saves for them last season before transferring to TCU this year. So cool guy, really fun story. And yeah, he's been pitching absolutely lights out for TCU this year. He has 14 strikeouts and 8 1/3 innings of work. I mean,
He hasn't given up more than a hit in any of his 5 appearances. Like,
just had the one, I think, a home run given up to Zach Wattis of all people against Loyola Marymount. But other than that, I mean, he's given you a ton of clean work early on this year. The coaching staff thinks he could be a guy to challenge for kind of the all-time appearance record, which I think is 38. The last 2 arms to get really close to that were Louis at 30 last year and Ben Abelt a couple years ago at 32. So I think we could see him at the end of the year being around that mark of appearances. But whatever happens with TCU baseball moving forward, Walt Quinn's going to be a guy out of the bullpen that's going to need to be a big part of it. And he started off the year really, really well. I think he's a veteran voice in that locker room that has stepped up and talked a lot. And I think he and some of the other leaders on the team this week specifically talked a lot about, hey, we're okay. Like, we've got this. We're okay. We need to stick together. We got this 9-game home stretch coming up of home games. Like, let's just lock in, play for each other, and we'll be all right. And so, he's one of the guys that's really kind of banging that drum. And the results, I mean, yeah, it's New Haven, but you could have beaten New Haven 7-5 and you beat them 20-1 on Sunday to close things out. Right. So I think it's working. And I think Walt Quinn's a big part of why TCU is starting to turn things around.
Yeah, and like you said, they're fine. It's still early. They have not lost a conference game. They haven't played a conference game. So, they get another home game. They get Abilene Christian on Tuesday, a 6 p.m. start. A fun Tulane team, but that they should be able to take care of business against. And then they get the weird non-conference Kansas matchup before Big 12 play opens at Arizona and Tempe, like you mentioned, which will be a really good test for that ball club. So plenty of baseball ahead, plenty of time to right the ship. You want to take advantage of this long home stretch to start the season and try to get some wins and get your confidence back under you before you get into conference play. But this is still a team that has its goals well ahead of it, despite the rocky beginning with a brutal conference or non-conference schedule.
Yeah, and I do want to say one thing about Sawyer Strohsnyder because I think he's had a really kind of funny start to the year. He's got 11 hits on the season and he scored 19 runs. And the reason that is a thing, right? The reason that is a thing is because pitchers are being extremely, extremely careful with him early on this season, more so than I anticipated, frankly, at this point in the year. Because if you look at who's hitting behind him, it's Chase Brunson and then recently Nolan Traeger. And those 2 guys are guys that can hit the cover off the ball as well. And both of them have been to start the year, although Nolan's counting stats maybe aren't where he wants them to be. For example, just on a tangent, Nolan hit 2 pitches on Sunday that were each 105 plus exit velocity for outs. And then he got an RBI on a walk and a hit by pitch, right? So like sometimes baseball just doesn't treat you with a ton of respect when you're hitting the ball as hard as Nolan Traeger is. But back to my point, Sawyer Strohsnyder has already walked this year 16 times.
Jeez.
I'll give you a guess, Melissa. How many times do you think Sawyer Strohsnyder walked last season?
Well, I'm going to guess this is a relatively low number based on the setup, in the 30s.
20.
Oh my gosh.
He walked 20 times as a true freshman. Obviously, the start to the year was rough. The first 4 or 5 games, he really hadn't quite figured it out yet. But this is a guy that was, the perfect game, or sorry, whichever one. He was the freshman of the year for one of the major publications. He hit 350. He was All-American. He was all these things. He only walked 20 times last year. People were willing to throw the baseball in the strike zone against him all the time last year. He's already walked 16 times this year. to just 10 strikeouts. He has 11 hits. He doesn't see strikes, and he's hitting 355 right now.
Yeah.
Right. You think about his first two at bats today, both of which came in the first inning. He walked on 4 pitches, second batter of the game in the bottom of the first. Walked on 4 pitches. His next time up, he saw a strike for the first time. And then the second strike, he hit 110 miles an hour off the top of the wall in right field for a 3-run RBI double. And then he didn't see a strike again in his next 2 at bats. I think he walked 2 more times on 4 pitches, right? Like, this is a kid. It is so hard when you are not consistently seeing strikes to hit the ball like Sawyer Strider's like Sawyer Strauss. I'm going to start that whole sentence over. It is so hard when you are not seeing a lot of strikes to hit the ball as hard as Sawyer Strauss-Schneider is to start the season. It's just, people I don't think understand how much eye level and timing and everything else play into hitting. He's not seeing strikes, and he's still hitting the ball really hard most of the time when he does. So he's had a really good start to the year. I think that's something that TCU can rally around. Cole Kramer has been lights out the last couple of games as well. I think he reached base 9 times this weekend. There's a lot of positive things that TCU can take away. Sawyer Strauss-Schneider is one of them. Chase Brunson and Nolan Traeger and Cole Kramer are more of them. If they get the pitching figured out here, if they can get more length from the starters, they're going to be just fine. Yeah. But even if that takes more time than fans want it to take, this lineup is one that can absolutely carry their weight and carry that extra water while the pitching is still figuring it out. They're not going to see another UCLA on the schedule in the regular season this year. We don't have to worry about that. They're going to see some really good baseball teams. But this is still a team that is fully and extremely capable of racking up a ton of wins, especially in league play. And it starts with guys like Sawyer Strauss-Schneider, who's had a great start to the year.
Yeah, I think that you said it perfectly. Is this lineup is very potent top to bottom. And I know we saw some, Traeger struggled for a bit, Cole Kramer struggled for a bit. But again, look at the level of competition they were playing, and they're not going to see number 1 in the country on the schedule again. And while Big 12 play won't be a walk in the park, they're still not going to get the consistent level of pitching that they saw in some of those opening games. So if they need to score 7 or 8 runs a game, they're more than capable of doing so until the pitching kind of settles itself in.
And Preston Gamster. I mean, talk about a kid who didn't really get any opportunity the first 2 weekends of the year. Pinch hit RBI single on Saturday night, got the start at shortstop on Sunday, and hit a 2-run RBI double off the base of the wall in center field. Played great defense at shortstop. Caius Gargett is a kid who is working his way into more playing time as well. Colton Griffin is starting to look really comfortable in left field, which is a really nice development for this team.
Colton Griffin never looks comfortable. Colton Griffin is always moving.
No, he's doing fine.
That kid is no. I mean, not like from a baseball perspective, but when you watch him, nobody has more like nervous energy. He's bouncing. He's very engaged in what's going on. No, I love Colton Griffin. I think he's playing great. I'm just saying, like, there's nothing about him that looks settled at any point in a baseball game, and I think that's so funny for a baseball player. He's always moving, always bouncing around. I absolutely love his energy on the field.
No, he's looking more comfortable defensively out there, and when you've got guys to lean on like Chase Brunson and Sawyer Strauss-Schneider in that regard, it probably gives you a lot of confidence as well. But this is a team that has talent. The talent is starting to show up. As Kirk Saarloos likes to say, you're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. And I think that's something that TCU fans can benefit from keeping in mind as well as the season moves along.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I'm excited. I should be out there Tuesday night. I have not seen this team play at home yet because I was out of town, and that's wild to me. So I'm ready.
Yeah, and it's March now. Tuesday, 6 p.m., first pitch against Abilene Christian. The men's basketball team also tips off at 6 p.m. in Lubbock at Texas Tech. So it's going to be a fun Tuesday night series of events. And then the Frogs host Tulane over the weekend, while women's basketball heads up to Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament, and TCU men's basketball closes out their regular season at home against Cincinnati.
Big.
A lot coming up this weekend.
Days. Yeah,
a lot coming up and that doesn't mention the fact, we didn't even talk about women's tennis taking down Arizona State, top 6 team in the country. They're on the rise. Men's tennis is hitting some bumps in the road right now, but they're fully in swing of their season. Like it's a good time.
Back rolling.
They beat Florida State at Florida State over the weekend as well. Like it's a good time to be a TCU Horned Frog. It's a good time to support TCU athletics, whatever shape and form they come in. And let's just keep it rolling.
Let's keep it rolling. Yeah, I'm really excited to get up to Kansas City this weekend, and watch hopefully TCU compete for another Big 12 tournament championship. I'll be sad to miss the final home game for the men, but hopefully I would love for the men to have a 2-0 week if they can go into Texas Tech and beat a top and list Red Raiders. It's still a really really good basketball team, but you hope Xavier Edmonds, and David Punch can do some damage down low in that one. I think that would be that win right there. I think would get the fan base really galvanized and give that team a really great home finale Saturday. I think there'd be great energy in the Schollmeyer if they can get that win.
Absolutely would. Absolutely would. That's going to do it for this episode of Frogs Insider. Again, go like the YouTube channel, leave a comment on the YouTube channel and on the podcasts wherever you get them. Leave a rating and a review. Share it with a friend. We are continuing to grow like crazy, which is awesome and a little bit confounding to me, frankly. But thank you to everyone who continues to listen. Thank you to everyone who continues to support the show in whatever way that you do that. And thank you to everyone who comes up and says hi. Yeah, that's
somebody
so
do that
that's
before
so cool.
the basketball game tonight, and it was just I'm like, why do people know me? Like that's so weird, but I freaking love it. Like it makes it worth it. It really does feel good when you guys recognize us and come say hi. I really do appreciate it every time.
We all know that Melissa's into that self-gratification. For Melissa Treewasser, I am Jamie Plunkett. We will talk to you next time. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.